Quaid Azam Part 408, Appendix 8, Waivel, the Viceroy's Journal, ED by Penderal Moon, Private and Personal, 31 January 1947. My dear Viceroy, I have your letter of the 19th in reply to mine of the 8th. It is clear from what you say with regard to the government policy that there is a wide divergence of view as to the course which should be followed during the interim period. I had hoped that it would have been possible for you to have returned here during January to discuss the situation which has arisen. I'm very conscious of the heavy burden which you have carried and of the great services which you have rendered during this difficult period. I know that you undertook this task from a high sense of duty. You were, I understand, informed that your appointment was a war appointment and that while the usual terms of a viceroy is 5 years, this might not apply. I think that 3 years was mentioned. This has now expired. I know, of course, that prior to your appointment as viceroy, you had had the heavy strain of high commands in the war, and as you say in your letter, you have had no rest. I appreciate that you desire a month or two's leave at home, but the Indian problem is entering on a new phase which will be very exacting and may be prolonged. The next few months are of great importance. In view of all these circumstances and of the fact that it is especially necessary that the Viceroy should be in full agreement with the policy of His Majesty's government, I think that you may agree that the time has come to make a change in the Viceroy. I recall that you expressed your readiness to retire in the event of disagreement and on policy, and this would seem to me to be the appropriate course to follow. An announcement should be made with as little delay as possible in order to allow time for the appointment of your successor and for him to take over at the end of February or early in March. The normal announcement about your successor would be prefaced with the statement of Field Marshal the Viceroy Wavell, who accepted the Viceroyalty as a war appointment, is now retiring. I have not looked into the details, but if as a result you are denied any leave of absence which you would normally have had, you may be sure that you will not suffer financially. I should like to submit your name to His Majesty for the dignity of an earldom in recognition of the self-sacrifice and the loyal service which you have displayed in your long and distinguished career in India, both to the Indian people and to this country and the Commonwealth. Yours sincerely, C.R. Attlee. It was a letter to Wavell by the Prime Minister, and of course, he was getting expelled, and the successor Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, would take him over. Now, Wavell responds to the Prime Minister, 5th February 1947. My dear Prime Minister, I have received your letter of January 31 in which you inform me of your intention to advise His Majesty to terminate my appointment as Viceroy in a few weeks' time. As you say, my appointment was a war one, and not a fixed term of the office was given me. I think you are in error about a term of 3 years having been mentioned, but the point is immaterial. Since the 3 year term passed several months ago, without your giving an indication of wishing to make a change, you are causing me to be removed because of what you term a wide divergence of the policy. The divergence, as I see it, is between me wanting a definite policy for interim period and HMG refusing to give me one. I will not at this time enter into further argument on this. I do not, of course, question your decision to make a change. I have no desire except to serve the state to the best of my ability. Obviously, I cannot continue to do so if I have not the confidence of the government in power. I think, however, that I am entitled to observe that so summary a dismissal of His Majesty's representative in India is hardly in keeping with the dignity of the appointment. It has been usual to give a retiring viceroy 6 months' notice of his replacement. I may recall to you that I wrote to you 6 months ago at the beginning of August last, suggesting that you might now wish to replace the soldier by a politician, but that you gave no indication of any desire to make a change. Whether my conduct of my service, my office, since then has deserved a dismissal at a few weeks' notice is for others to judge.